Yeah.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call today's Judicial and Public Safety Committee meeting to order. It is Thursday, April 10th, 9 a.m. May I please have roll call?
Gripe,
Here.
Gums,
here.
Linder,
Linda here.
Debbie here.
Williams, Leonard,
Leonard here.
Alina present.
Roth is here.
We have no requests for remote attendance. I'd like to entertain a motion for consent for the approval of minutes of March 13th, 2025.
Debbie requests unanimous consent.
Position. Minutes are approved. We have no one signed up for public comment. Our monthly financial reports are on file. We have no one here from the Merit Commission, so we will go straight to KingCom. Ms. Guthrie, good morning.
Good morning. Our monthly reports are on file. We had a very busy March. Technically, April is Public Education Month in 911, but we spent a lot of time in March doing public education. Our annual report for 2024 is also in the packet, and I have a PowerPoint this morning to go through and kind of talk about KingCom operations, what we did in 2024, some of our goals for 2025. Thank you, Blair. Well, there we go. All right, so our mission, KingCom 911, we commit to serving as the vital link between the citizens of King County and the public safety agencies devoted to protecting them. We are a multi-jurisdictional dispatch center responsible for the deployment of several police, fire, EMS agencies, and a number of county agencies as well. And our subscribing agencies has not changed. That's been the same as some years past here. So they are listed there as well as detailed in the report. Our organizational structure, we are 24/7, 365. We never close. We have 3 8-hour shifts. We have shift supervisors as well as management team to support the operations of what we do at KingCom, because there's not only the call taking portion of things, but there is also the radio infrastructure part of things, which our radio systems administrator specializes in. That's his responsibility. So the job of a telecommunicator, the majority of the telecommunicator's job is really talked about, seen, or known in the general public, which is why we do so much public education to talk about what we do. No 2 days are ever the same. You never know what kind of call is going to be on the other end of the phone. And we have long periods of slow activity followed by bursts of just chaos. And we are required to handle every call with professionalism, precision, and efficiency. Studies have concluded that dispatchers are being diagnosed with PTSD due to the trauma of listening to horrific calls, radio traffic, and other job-related stressors. Before I talk about how we support our team, I do just want to share some quick statistics. I was reading last night, studies showed that less than 1% of the general population can actually do the job of a 911 telecommunicator, which is why it's so challenging sometimes to hire. And it also shows that 1 in 10 that we do hire successfully complete the training program because of how much they need to learn and how much multitasking is involved. Issues on why people leave have come down to staffing levels and hiring challenges in the 911 center. And the turnover rate in general for 911 is approximately 30% in this work. The average tenure is now down to 1 to 3 years, which is far less than years previously. It used to be closer to 4 to 7 years. At KingCom, we do have a very senior team. I should say a mix of a senior team. We do have the anniversaries recently listed in our March reports, and our most senior telecommunicator has been with us 24 years. We also have 23 years. We have some that are close to 20, so we're very fortunate for the experience that comes with our team. So in terms of managing the job-related stressors, we do have resources available to our team. We contract with a psychologist that specializes in 911 telecommunicator stress. She started studies on PTSD in telecommunicators, and because she is local, she's out at NIU, Dr. Michelle Lilly. She is available to our team. Sessions are available at no cost. The invoice just comes to us, and we have predetermined number of sessions available to them at month, and everything is confidential. The only contact I have with Dr. Lilly is when she sends me an invoice that's a little higher than the rest because we need to add sessions. Following a critical event, we do attend debriefings with police and fire agencies. And kind of recently in the last 2 years, we put in a notification for any kind of high priority calls. Management receives a notification so we can immediately review those calls and then reach out to the team to support them. Our staffing assignments, we are staffed at 3 to 4 telecommunicators per shift. Typically trending, we're at the 3 telecommunicators per shift. And the assignments are a call taker and fire dispatcher, our county police dispatcher, and our municipalities police dispatcher. And then when we have a 4th, that is a call taker and fire dispatcher. And the picture you see up there is of our radio council. Those are all the radio channels and talk groups that our team monitors throughout their shift. So they may be selected on one primary channel, but radio traffic from those other talk groups shown up there are coming through the speakers. And those radio channels that we monitor during our daily operations are detailed below. So it's police, fire, also OEM. We have the capabilities to talk to KDOT, and that's all done through our radio infrastructure and our radio council there. Other responsibilities, I won't read all of these, but just the awareness that there's call taking, there's dispatching, and then our team has other responsibilities as well. When there's a missing person or a stolen vehicle and officers go out and take that report, it's actually our team that enters those into the national and state databases. So if someone runs John Smith out of Illinois and they see that he's missing, that entry is done by your dispatch center. Also, we handle some of the after hours responsibilities for the sheriff's office. We confirm warrants, we enter orders of protection from the court. So that is also handled by our team. And then we can make after hours notifications to animal control, the health department, townships, highway, KDOT. So there's a lot more than just call taking and dispatching. It's a screen, there's a picture there of our technology. We use about 3 different keyboards, or excuse me, 2 keyboards, 3 mice, a keypad. You'll see all those screens there. 5 of them are used for our computer-aided dispatch system. The large one on the side there is used for the radio, so we can talk on the radio. The set of cards that you see on the side are emergency medical dispatch protocols. So when we receive any ambulance call, those protocols are utilized to provide to the caller and then commented in our ticket. And one of our projects that we're doing this year is integrating those protocols into the computer-aided dispatch system for efficiency and to kind of eliminate one more tool that our team needs to reference. One of the screens is for the 911 phone system. Our councils are very important to our team because during long shifts, you want the ability to stand up and sit down. You can do both. The chairs, we've demoed chairs to make sure that they're comfortable and, work well for our team. We have 3 different types in there. So make sure they have a good work setting when performing critical work. Here's our volume of activity, just a comparison between 23 and 24 in terms of phone calls. We ran very close. We actually just saw a slight decrease from 23 to 24 in all different calls that we handle there. You see the 911 emergency, 10-digit emergency, or abandoned calls are 911 hangups. Anytime we receive an accidental 911 call and someone thinks they can immediately disconnect, we then call that number back to make sure that they're safe. And then our percentage of service, about 90% of what we do in our activity is police related. The largest being the sheriff's office. You see of the police activity, 66% of that is from the King County Sheriff's Office. Our next largest agency is actually King County Court Services and the probation officers at 7%. And then the remaining 10% is our fire activity. The largest activity being some of our north agencies, let's see, Hampshire and Pingree and Fox River. And then just a comparison. So incidents dispatched, we receive phone calls, and for every phone call that requires police, fire, or EMS response, you create a call for service. If we just get a phone call that isn't necessary for police, maybe it's just a question, then we're not creating those calls for service. So this is how many incidents we dispatched and created calls for service for. And as you can see, it's quite an increase in years past. 2020 was obviously the COVID years. 21, but we're up
Pretty
quite a
soon.
bit in 2024 with our
Pretty soon. We gotta
highest
get some more
volume
press.
at 89,185.
Press.
And then other
Press.
activity, as you can imagine, we receive a lot of requests for audio and 911s and records. That takes quite a bit of time on our management team to pull all that information. The total number of requests that we received in 2024 was 573 between subpoenas. That's the majority of them, subscriber
I don't know why
requests,
the grass did not come up.
incidents,
Maybe it is.
and then
No
FOIA
idea.
requests. Our 2024 projects, a lot of focus on hiring. We keep talking about hiring. That's our biggest priority, but we did a number of projects as well. I won't go through all of those. They're detailed in the report. But we are always incorporating technology for efficiency and looking at what we can do better, while also reducing costs. One of the projects I want to highlight is that we did replace all of our very costly T1 circuits at our radio towers with ASEOD circuits, they're fiber connections, and that reduced our telephone bill costs quite a bit. In 2025 projects, hiring is the priority, hiring and training. Again, all of these are detailed in the reports. We received grant funding to incorporate those EMD protocols into our CAD system. We're also working on a CAD to CAD project with TRICOM that'll help us share data. And then another issue I really want to talk about is the 911 surcharge funding and increase. And I did provide a handout. This is new as of yesterday, which is why it's not included in the packet. But we receive 911 surcharge from, every phone bill that registers within the county. And right now that line charge is $1.50. So it only covers about, on average, 42% of the center's expenses. For KingCom, it covers 30% of our bill. So we receive this 911 surcharge as a pass-through through the state, and that goes towards our budget. So whatever's left is broken up by percentage from our subscriber agencies. Because the surcharge taxes aren't fixed, they don't include inflation. There's, only a portion that's covered. Our expenses continue to rise, and the difference is made up by our public safety agencies like police and fire departments. So in 2017, the surcharge increased from 87 cents a line to 150. And that did help us address inflation, cost of living changes, technology, the need for improved staff compensation, and the goal of ensuring consistent statewide 911 access. And the $1.50 was great. It supported critical advancements, including Next Generation 911. KingCom, I think, was the 18th agency within King County to implement Next Generation 911. And then we've also implemented statewide geographic systems where we're all sharing data, text to 911. We actually have been doing text to 911 since 2016. So we do have the ability to receive texts when you can't make a call. And then we have enhanced training and certification for our 911 telecommunicators. So the $1.50 has been very helpful since 2017. But the sustainability of these achievements and the ability to address future operational technical demands have insufficient surcharge revenue. So the city of Chicago receives $5 a month in their line charge. They receive a $2.50 base and then a $2.50 add-on. So 911 in the state of Illinois is requesting that to secure reliable service that adapt to evolving technologies and increasing demands and minimize the burden on public safety services that would have to make up the difference in cost, we request that we're receiving more 911 surcharge. We want to be closer to what the city of Chicago is receiving, which is a base rate of $2.50 with annual adjustment to growing costs. So that is something I'll be sending out to the board. I provided a handout to everybody. We'll be advocating for that. There is a day, April 29th, where it's 911 goes to Springfield. I, as well as some other local directors, will be participating in that, and we'll be going to Springfield, speaking with our legislators and talking about the importance of funding 911 technology and our staff, because this does fund our staff as well. And then these are our goals, just some goals going into 2025, some pictures of our team. We've talked a lot about our space options. We don't have a meeting space. We don't have a training space. We do still have people sharing offices. Our radio administrator is still under the stairs of the yellow house. That's where his office is. That's where his equipment is. And we need to adapt to that. So there are our goals. We have a radio coverage study that we've done. We're going to be increasing our efficiencies, our compliance. We have more cost saving solutions that we will implement. And then we have our police who are our blue line heroes and fire as red line, and we are the thin gold line. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, any questions for Ms. Guthrie? Mr. Grape?
Thank you. I'm way down here. First of all, thank you. And I'll just give you a compliment I heard from a Forest Preserve police officer. I got to do a ride along the other day, and it was interesting because he showed me the technology that allows an officer to make a choice between picking up the radio and going online and finding or posting information or doing it. And I'm not an expert on it, but I would be very interested in how we might be able to better equipped. And Amy, this might get into your fight. Anybody who can call you guys or radio, which distracts. And I mean, it's important, but how we could get more people to use the technology that are now in those vehicles to be able to, you know, smooth the process a little bit. You mentioned hiring in the goals. Is that replacement hiring, new hiring with the hiring freeze, you know, objective? And just maybe you can talk about that.
Yeah, these are the vacancies that are currently within our budget. We are constantly hiring to get quote up to staff for numbers that currently are in our budget. This is not new staff. So we are interviewing, we are testing. We have quite an extensive testing process where they do a skills test, where it's split ear multitasking, and then they move on to the interview. Then they move on to a background test, a psychological exam that's handled by our Kane County Diagnostic Center, and then just a basic physical exam. And then once they pass all of that, then we are able to hire them. And once they're in the center, they are assigned a certified training operator, and they cannot do anything on their own without their certified training operator. So that CTO or that training operator is someone on the current staff who's essentially tied to this trainee and has to teach them everything until they are released from training. So that's, you know, additional work on our team, which they're compensated for within the collective bargaining agreement. They receive an additional stipend for that work. But the more CTOs and training operators we have, the more people we can hire at one time. So we kind of keep a constant rotation where we know that there are people currently in training and we're testing and we're waiting. And then once someone's released, then we can bring somebody new in.
Okay, thank you. Just a question on how we can help. I'm assuming this increase from 150, I think, to 250 is going to involve the ICC. And obviously, so what can we do to help with the state legislature or the Illinois Commerce Commission, about this?
Yeah, I would encourage you to reach out to representatives and just talk about how important this is and what it is supporting, which is our team, our technology, and consistency across the state in terms of 911 service. That's really what the Next Generation 911 Project initiative was. I mean, we had areas that had kind of robust 911 systems, and then some areas throughout Illinois that really didn't. And it's trying to level the playing field in terms of technology that we use. So callers throughout Illinois receive the same type of service. And in order to maintain that, we have to keep moving forward, which is what this funding will support.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions, Ms. Gumbs?
Thank you. In reference to the legislation that we should be reporting or supporting, I would simply ask that maybe you bring that to the legislative committee in the form of a resolution on anything that's currently written. And then we can get that support going and letters out.
Right.
And then also, as far as Mr. Gripe, you mentioned, and this is just my opinion, and I don't know the answer to this, but as far as utilizing technology more than your radio transmissions, in my opinion, if an officer or somebody puts themselves on a ticket, So they have utilized what you're suggesting. The dispatcher may not recognize or like it's not obvious to them. Like you have to go through the screen and see that somebody has put themselves on a ticket. And with my experience and many others, if an emergency occurs after they've put themselves on a ticket and you haven't heard that, you have to discover where they are. So I advocate against using that, because when somebody says out loud, I am at the intersection of wherever with an individual, now it's registered. But if you're putting it into the computer, it's not registered at all with me. So when the shit hits the fan, you know what I mean? Like I know already because it's been said to me out loud.
Mhm.
I don't know if we do function that way or what the sheriff's department, what those policies are, but I support all kinds of technology, but this is something that I just wouldn't support.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do have technology with our mapping system to see the AVL within the squad cars. As long as, there's a little delay, but at least we can zoom to a unit and see a squad car on the map. And that's across the board with our agencies. But however, I do agree when you hear it on the radio and you're processing that and you're putting somebody on scene, that does help you kind of in your mind understand where they are. But we have a lot of technology and I'd be happy to go into all of the detail. Reach out. We can do a tour. We can sit down and talk about it. We can show you all the things that we use, but there's quite a bit technology as it flows from CaneCom to our police agencies to even the records in the jail. And we use the same Tyler New World, Tyler Enterprise CAD system across the county. And I shouldn't say across the county. I mean, in terms of the sheriff's office and our public safety agencies, we have an interface from our CAD system to our fire record system. So there's a lot of technology used there as well.
If I may.
Wait, no, we're going to move on. You can talk to her after the meeting because we have a long agenda. I apologize. Ms. Guthrie, if you could go ahead and introduce your resolution.
Yes, I have a resolution it is called Motorola Radio Management. We have one radio administrator who supports all of the radio operations infrastructure programming throughout our agencies, police and fire, even into the jail and court services. And this radio management program will allow for over-the-air radio programming. So right now he physically has to go everywhere and program everything. And he is one person. And this allows the radios to use the Wi-Fi capability where he can send out a new updated programming template and the radio can accept that. And it will save man hours having to go out and physically program the radios.
Okay, may I have a motion and a second to discuss and potentially approve the resolution?
Leonard moves.
Mr. Leonard moves.
Tepe seconds.
Mr. Tepe seconds. Any questions or comments regarding the resolution? Okay, hearing and seeing none, may I please have roll call?
Gripe,
Yes.
Gums,
Comes, yes.
Linder,
Yes.
Pepe,
Tepe, yes.
Williams, Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Olena.
Molina, yes. Okay, and this passes on to budget and finance.
I should add that this will be reimbursed by our ETSB as well. I'll be submitting that in a week.
Thank you, Ms. Guthrie.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move on to emergency management. Scott, good morning.
Morning. I have a short presentation for you while Blair gets that queued up. Just want to mention, so everyone's aware of the fire in Carpentersville on March 30th. For the 3 small children that were killed. Tomorrow morning, there's services. Our people are helping with that funeral procession. So we've been trying to support that as best we can. So real quick, it's pretty short presentation. I'll be brief as I can. Last year in July, I presented after action report for the July tornadoes. On March 14th and 15th, we had probably a less severe event. It was straight line wind only, but I think there's a couple of improvements we've made, and I just want to talk about how we compare from last July to this March. So this was the event. There were 4 tornadoes during that event, none in Kane County. We did have a report of a tornado west of Maple Park, kind of along the Kane DeKalb border. It was reported by trained DeKalb County Sheriff's Office. They were trained spotters, but the National Weather Service was not able to confirm with damage from the tornado. So it may have been a tornado that was not on the ground. But what the National Weather Service was able to confirm was we had a pretty significant amount of straight line wind damage. I have the readings that we got, 67 miles an hour in Lily Lake and 63 in Sugar Grove. So not as severe of an event as we had last July, but severe enough that we had to respond and then still do some work to find out how bad it was. These are just kind of the photos of the worst damage. I think everyone's aware of the First United Methodist Church in Elgin that lost its roof. Interestingly enough, that's the same church that in 1920 was flattened by a tornado, completely destroyed, rebuilt, and then it was thought to be a tornado at the time that took the roof off during that storm. And then a barn in Hampshire Township was flattened as well. Other than that, everything else was pretty cosmetic, trees and siding and things like that. So the purpose of an after action report is to summarize the incident and then for institutional knowledge to identify what went well and what we can improve. Core capabilities are FEMA. So the ones that apply to this are kind of with the squares in blue. So those are the ones that we've rated, and they're the same ones we rated last July. So these are the capabilities. So operational coordination and public information and warnings, that's kind of our bread and butter. In both cases, we performed without challenges. Those are the things we do all the time during storm response. Identifying the path of the potential tornado in both cases was performed with some challenges. That didn't really change from the last time. We are, however, working with GIS to build some layers in our system to be able to do windshield survey and track critical infrastructure and resources. And once that's done, I think we'll see some improvement there. For the initial damage assessment, same thing. GIS is helping us to build that system so that we can go out and collect that data faster and more efficiently to get good data. And the ultimate goal of all of this is to determine, is there enough damage to support a federal disaster declaration that potentially could bring federal money? The issues in Washington notwithstanding, that's what we've done for years, and we'll keep doing it until we're given direction otherwise. So on situational assessment, we had some improvement there. Last July, we had problems. We had trouble sharing information with stakeholders like the board and other public safety agencies. And that's mainly because the data collection is all manual. It's spreadsheets and written logs that have to be converted. It's difficult to understand where all that is. And so this time around, we had somebody that was taking those damage points and mapping them. So you get a better understanding of where the damage was and how you can direct people to then go look at that area and see just how bad it was. We also developed a new situation report form, and I sent a number of those out to the board during the event and then in some of the days that followed. We're also implementing a EOC software that we just started implementing last week. And once that's up and going, I think that will improve that as well. Stabilize I think one of the big improvements from July to March was back in July, we had trouble with critical infrastructure and electricity being out and for days, in some cases, intersections that had no lights, and we had to close down with barricades and stuff. And we had people out there for, I don't know, 12 or 20 hours or something like that. And in the end, ComEd didn't understand that it was critical infrastructure that was out. They had that one major outage as tagged to a residence, so it wasn't high on the priority list, and we didn't have any ability to see that. So since then, we've worked with ComEd and we've gotten access to a portal that we can see critical infrastructure that's out of power. In the March storm, we were able to see that. We identified critical infrastructure, 2 nursing homes in Elgin, a fire station in Burlington, and 2 water pumps in Burlington that feed their water tower. And we identified all those and then made the contact with ComEd to raise their priority. And then all of them were back in power within 2 to 3 hours without any major impact. So that was an improvement, that we have that ability and can now address those things before nursing homes have to consider evacuation, or the Burlington runs out of water in their water tower. So the economic recovery and community resilience stayed the same. Some of that is just where we have things we have to build. One of those is working on creating a long-term recovery group. That's a process we're in now at engaging community organizations that can help in those areas. And we've started to have some conversations, and I'll probably be talking more about that as this year goes on. So no major change there. So the last part is, you may have seen at the board meeting, I mentioned we did volunteer recognition last week, last Wednesday night. Really good year for us, a new high in volunteered hours at over 13,000. That's the equivalent of about 6.5 full-time employees. And then last night, fresh, hot off the press, we had our new volunteers start their training, and we were welcoming 18 new volunteers. That brings our total to about 72. We expect we'll probably lose a couple throughout the process because they realize it's a bigger commitment than they realize. But we've had, when I started in October of 23, we had right around 40 volunteers. So we've had a couple good recruiting years, and we're finding new ways to use them and expanding. We're expanding into social media and public outreach to get help with these people. It's not only responding out in the community, it's also engaging and teaching public education. So with that, that's the end of my, and my 4 keys. It's in the report, but we've had some really good success working with our county lobbyists on 2 particular bills. One was initiated by us to change the law regarding traffic preemption devices. And just, I believe it was yesterday, that passed the Illinois House 104-0, and it's going to the Senate now. So it's looking good for that to pass. I mentioned the new volunteer academy. We're all still having sheltering challenges. This is going back a year and really even years. Last year in March, there was a fire in Elgin that the Red Cross couldn't staff by themselves a shelter, so we had to give them a significant amount of support. And then just, I believe it was early March, we had the fire in West Dundee where the people really didn't need shelter, and the Red Cross came out and was really aggressive at trying to open a shelter when it was an kind of a higher end apartment building. The people had insurance, they had places to go, and we just had challenges dealing with them. So most every county around the metro area is going down the road of planning for sheltering without the Red Cross because they're so stretched thin. They're all over the country. And when these disasters happen throughout the country, they're sending people there, and we're finding they're not available to us. So we're going down the road of, we need to have some cots on hand and have more people trained. We're working on those things. So that's where the office space, we have limited space. If we had a major disaster, we can only sit about 10 people in the EOC, where there's something like 28 or 30 county departments. If everybody was needed, there's not room for all of them. I realize that's not there's not a solution for that coming anytime soon, but just want to make sure that's understood. And some of that also includes storage space. If we have cots, we need a place to store them and things like that. So that's the end of my report.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Any questions? Ms. Gums?
I do have a quick question. Scott, could you just talk a little bit about the conversations that are occurring with FEMA, and should we be sending letters of support? We've had folks testify, but a little bit about that.
Yes. So we're a member of the International Association of Emergency Managers, and they're one of the lead agencies that's testified in front of Congress advocating for funding to stay in place. A lot of what is done at the state and local level is funded by federal money. That money, so about 50% of IEMA, the Illinois Emergency Management Agency, is funded by federal grants. And so the money that Illinois receives, they split 50% goes to IEMA, and then 50% is spread throughout Illinois to the counties and some of the accredited municipalities. So our share of that this current year is about $85,000. So as of right now, officially, we've been told that's on hold. We have not been told that they're canceled, but there's a push that we have been told some other things have been canceled, like BRIC funding. That's a mitigation grant program that helps fund like to prevent future disasters or make them not as severe by some of the examples are buying flood-prone homes and turning them into parks, and so they don't flood anymore. That's stuff that happened years ago in Kane County, but that money has been stopped for now. So not a big impact on us particularly because we didn't have any of those grants going at the moment, but we are concerned about the grants that we receive and keeping those going. That it's a big impact on the state in general. So we're hoping that those will keep going. And we're like I said, IAEM is kind of taking the lead on that. And we're at the mercy of what the federal government decides. But I think some of this has to do with what's going to happen with FEMA. But the message has been continued to be sent that the preparedness of state and local emergency management is been funded for years this way. And if they're going to just yank the rug out from under us, it's going to have an impact.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Okay, we will move on to our sheriff.
Good morning. Our monthly reports are on file, so that is short and brief. But I also just wanted to mention two positives. We sent out a press release for our Special Investigations Unit, also known as SIU. Usually they don't get the accolades that they need, and I just wanted to do a special shout out for them. They've actually recently done 2 traffic stops that we've seen several narcotics and firearms together. No surprise there. But this one actually, I wish I could share the body cam, but you just can't clearly see it in our press release that was sent out. They actually passed it from the front driver to the back. Very scary moments. And our sergeant actually was able to look at it and get other units there very quickly, which could have been a potentially very, very, very dangerous situation. He mitigated very quickly. So that's one press release that I want to give them kudos to. The second one that we're going to release very quickly within the next week is pretty much the same thing, where we're getting firearms and narcotics off the street. We're doing more with less. Just kind of applaud that. I know the elephant in the room that we're looking for with April 1st not passing. I just want to give the accolades that are needed. Same thing with corrections, with the mandates that they're facing. They are working overtime every single day. I know we're trying to figure out what to do next, but I just wanted to give a shout out to them that they are working their butts off for making sure that our corrections is properly staffed. They are tired, but they are doing a heck of a good job. And last but not least, on one of our shifts, just one of our shifts, 115 traffic stops were done. I know some of the citizens that continuously tell us, hey, you're not doing enough out there, which we do get. 115 traffic stops. That's insane. And we love them for that. So I just wanted to give a shout out just to let the positivity know that, yes, we are working and we are doing all that we can, especially when we're, on our shifts specifically with 6 or 7 every single day. So I just at least wanted to let everyone know here that that's what we're doing and just kind of give a shout out to them because I don't think they hear it enough.
Thank you, Under Sheriff Johnson. Any questions for our Under Sheriff? Okay, we will move on to our coroner.
Good morning, everyone. Blair, do we have the first part of our presentation? Oh, I don't know how to use this. Okay.
He hasn't brought it up.
I can do this, right? Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. It has definitely been an incredible month. I was not with you last month because I was at training, and I can tell you it's been full speed ahead since then. We've had some very high profile cases that I may touch on here a bit today. So remember, return to medical are the cases where we can most save because we are investigating it. They do take a lot of work. They do take a lot of woman and man hours from my staff. However, they do not necessitate toxicology or autopsies. So we have been able to review and take care of 922 cases for this thus far in 2025. We are trending up. We do have a 10% increase in caseload, and I just don't see that going down. We also have a sign out, which may or may not necessitate an autopsy, usually does necessitate toxicology. And then we have sign out on natural, which most definitely necessitates an autopsy and toxicology. Remember, on average, my autopsies cost about $1,700 and toxicology can probably be about $500 or $600 per case. So these are my caseloads for March. We had 8 cases where we had to do an autopsy, and we had 4 cases where we did not have to do an autopsy. The 4 cases where we didn't do autopsies because there was no doctor to sign the death certificate, so I have to sign the death certificate, we saved $6,800 and $928 by not processing toxicology. Again, because we didn't feel it was needed. Anytime we feel it is needed, we will most definitely do toxicology or autopsy. We never compromise that. So here is the breakdown. One of the things that I feel is very important to give to you is the breakdown of what's happening and where it's happening. So you as commissioners for your respective municipalities can kind of get an idea of where you can have some intervention. So you'll see your municipality there and what we're seeing. Our savings for sign out on natural cases, $20,400. And we had 1624 saving in not processing toxicology because this was a fall case and we did not suspect any foul play, any overdose, or any misuse of prescription medications. My caseload is as follows per all of my deputies. I am a little nervous. Lauren tells me I don't have a lot to worry about yet, but I am a little nervous that our overtime hours are trending a little bit higher than other months. But that is again because we've had some very high profile cases. We had an officer involved shooting. We had the unfortunate loss of a couple of baby lives. Well, actually 3, but one of them was airlifted out of Kane County, was taken out of Kane County, and the other 2 were with us. And we also had the Karen Sheepers case, which we will talk about in a little bit. My concern is that I'm down 1 deputy for a work-related injury. So during the day, we staff with at least 2 deputies. At least 2 deputies go out at a time for safety reasons because we have to lift heavily, coordination. And in the evenings, I only have 1 deputy that works, but we call in a para deputy. So that's something that my chief deputy and I have sat down and spoken about for a number of hours, because I'm not so sure that it's been working, but I'm not so sure that this is the best. The 12-hour shifts are the best. I can very much relate that we don't know when a call is coming, and sometimes they do come one right after the other. I wouldn't say it's ever slow because, again, that's where we invest the time on these return to medical cases. Okay, so I would like to move into the 2024 drug-related deaths, overdose deaths. Again, another one of my priorities has been to give information so we can start to see trends. And I spoke to you a couple of months ago about veteran-involved suicides. Still happy to report no veteran suicides this month. Exactly, thank you. But the other thing that we're looking at now is giving data and compiling data for 2024 drug-related deaths. So we had 63 cases in total. I'll just keep shifting through that. I'll go over it. We had 63 cases in total. 59 were drug-related and 4 were alcohol only. There was 1 veteran overdose in 2024. Remember, this is 2024 data. Overwhelmingly male. So by race, we see that 63% of the population who has unfortunately overdosed is 63%. 25% is Latino or Latina, and 2% is Asian, and Black. The Black race is only 10%, which I'm happy that it's very low. But remember, this doesn't only include Black Americans. This is Black by race. So our Black American rate would be even lower. By zip code, I can tell you that most of our cases are from Elgin and Aurora. We have 6 in South Elgin, 3 in Batavia. Carpentersville, Dundee, St. Charles, Geneva, Montgomery had 2 each. Algonquin and Elburn had 1 each. I would like to also point out that there were 20 fentanyl-related cases. 7 cases were fentanyl only. 13 cases were fentanyl and other. Okay, so here is my 5-year review. Again, my goal is to give you what is going on in 2025, what happened in 2024, and my aggregate data for 5 years. And as you see, thankfully, our overdoses have been trending down, which was really shocking to me because it just seems like we're getting so many. This is in 2025. Remember, I've only been in office pretty much since 2025, December of 2024. So it just feels to me like we're seeing a lot of overdoses, but overall, in 2024, we did trend down, and we will hopefully continue to see the trend down regarding fentanyl and other opiates because of the efforts that everyone has put into this. But I'd like to also point out that people are still dying from cocaine, and cocaine is actually what we see most of. So here is information about our 59 drug-related deaths. We had 20 cases that were fentanyl only, 7 cases that were fentanyl only, as I said, 13 were fentanyl combined with other. We have had 1 heroin, and like I said, most are cocaine-related deaths. Okay, and were you able to pass those out? Okay. And so the other thing that I wanted to touch on, as mentioned, we did have a lot of high-profile cases. That necessitates a lot of man and woman hours, which is, again, making me a little nervous with my overtime, but we are watching everything carefully. We had the fortunate situation where we were able to solve a cold case. Being able to deliver answers to the constituency is the balancing of being able to provide services, provide the information on data, and also taking a look at some of the cold cases, because again, we have people who are walking around that have done some pretty ugly things, and we want to bring people to as much justice as possible and justice for the victims. We did have a case of a woman, I'm sure you've heard, it was all over the news. It made national media, national news, the case of Karen Sheepers. She was last seen in 1983, and my office was involved with that case. We were present at the river when her car was pulled out. And the picture that we just sent to you, that we gave to you, is one of the pictures of my staff sifting through all of the sediment that was found in the car. And my wonderful, wonderful chief deputy, who has been with us for 30 years. And again, I'd like to remind you, I get calls from all over the state asking for her input. She is just so valuable to Kane County, as all of our staff is, but we're very blessed to have her. She found the ring in the sediment. So a tiny little ring in a car full of sediment from 1983. It was a small car, but there was a lot there, and she was able to find the little ring. So thankfully, we were able to provide the family, mother of 93 years old who lost her daughter, was able to retrieve her ring. So I have a very, very, very talented, very dedicated, very giving staff, and my job is to coordinate all of it and to get the answers to families when we can. So I have more pictures, but I knew this was going to be a long one, so I did not bring a lot. But hopefully in a future session, we can actually talk a little bit more about what's been going on, and we'll be able to show you some more pictures. Thank you to my board members who have come through and shown support for all of us. And I welcome you to come through a little bit more. And more than anything, I keep getting reminded from my staff, it'd be so important for any of you, including other departments, to come on a ride along with us. We want you to see what we do firsthand and up front and center. And also, I'm still looking for cross-training opportunities. I know we had scheduled something with the sheriff's office, but we had to postpone that because there's some things with buildings and that. But I am looking for opportunities to come tour other offices and also to present to you. We have a nice training room where we can present to you what we do, and that way we understand what each other does a little bit better. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Silva. Any questions for our coroner? Okay, we will move on to judiciary and courts.
Good morning, Andrea O'Brien, Court Administrator. I just wanted to give a quick update on our courtroom technology. All our equipment has been installed. We're very excited to have it in place. We are finishing up programming and testing, and we are starting next week to do training. So we'll be training the judges and staff, and we will bring hopefully some pictures. This has been a long time coming, so we're excited to have it in place, and hopefully we'll bring some pictures next time and do a little quick presentation. But that's all I have, and Jason has something he'd like to say.
I just had a really quick acknowledgement. We had a training yesterday at the Judicial Center on some new legislation that we have that's going to kind of change our order of protection process on the civil and criminal side. So Jamie, I don't know if you're online or if you hear this later, but I just want to acknowledge State's Attorney Mosser. She gave up her lunch hour yesterday to train a lot of our frontline staff from across the county on this new legislation. She's giving it up again next week to train the judges and some of our administration staff. So it's just a testament to how well this room works together. One other quick example is we have a scheduled power outage coming up at the Judicial Center on the 18th. When we got confirmation of that last week, we within an hour had everybody in this room and the chief judge and representatives from the sheriff's office on a Zoom to kind of plan that out. And they did it late on a Friday afternoon. So, I mean, generally here, if you pick up the phone and you need something from people, they're always willing to pitch in and help get things done across the departments in this room. Andrew and I were at a conference for statewide court administrators last week. And I can tell you right now, we're really lucky in what we have in here because not everybody gets that kind of cooperation. So just wanted to throw that out and thank Jamie again for her assistance for us yesterday.
Thank you. Okay, we will now move on to a state's attorney.
Hi, good morning. State's Attorney Mosser had another speaking engagement this morning and so was not able to be here, but the reports are on file. And if there's any, I'll pass along your compliments, Mr. Matheson.
Aaron, can you get closer to the mic, please?
Yes. If anybody has any questions for me, I can take them back. Otherwise, I will pass along the compliments about her training on the new law.
Okay, any questions? Okay, so then we will move on to our public defender.
Good morning. Our reports are on file. Just a comment about the numbers that are on file in looking as we're about 3 months, our reports are 3 months into this year. Did a look at last year's numbers. We are on track with last year's numbers. So we expect that we will be opening roughly the same amount of cases this year as we did last year. In regards to our renovation project that I had spoken about before, we have one last piece of that, and that is beginning next week, our reception window is being replaced. So our receptionist will not be sitting at the window. We're hoping that is completed in 3 weeks' time. They are replacing the window to put in a bulletproof glass window, hopefully a little bit more secure for our staff there. But we will still be accepting phone calls and people who come to the window, just a little bit of a different process for that. And that is all I have for today.
Okay, any questions for our public defender? Okay, we will move on to Court Services Administration. Ms. Ost, good morning.
Morning. Our reports are on file. I want to make reference to a couple of graphs that are on page 261 of your packet, the report from the probation and pretrial part of court services. In February, we did 1,364 drug tests, and I am echoing and affirming what Dr. Silva said. We're also seeing an increase in cocaine use. And so you can see we had 24 positives for cocaine in February, but only 3 for fentanyl. So I know that fentanyl gets a lot of publicity and people forget about cocaine, but we're seeing that particularly even in our drug court, we're seeing a lot more people admitting that cocaine is their drug of choice. And so I'm echoing and affirming my statistics show the same thing. The other thing that as long as we're on the topic of the specialty courts or the problem-solving courts, you can also see in the graph just above that, that in December, we had about 135 active participants going on in the specialty courts. And right now we're hovering around 165, or we're in the 160s. It's gone up a little bit. We still have the capacity to handle these people, but I'm just letting you know that, like, for example, we're seeing more people involved in our mental health court, which I am actually happy about. There's still some capacity in that program for like another 10 or 20 people to enter that court. So we're okay for now. But I think that that resource was underutilized during COVID. And so now that that's over, you know, more people are applying. We're seeing more acting out kind of behavior, and they're working, and that's doing well. I'm just announcing that. So our DUI court, their capacity is 60. When we agreed to help with the DUI court, it was really, you know, the state's attorney and the sheriff started having conversations about that. They were seeing a lot of DUIs and really serious DUIs, and could we do something about it? And so we started the DUI court, not exactly as a proof of concept exactly, but we wanted to get it off the ground. We did it in a limited way to just really build it out robustly before we increase the scope and the capacity of that program. Well, the capacity is, we're there. They're within 9 applicants of being at capacity. And so we've already informed the judge in that courtroom, Judge Cruz, that we'll have to begin starting a wait list. So we're pending 10 applicants. I'm definitely sure we'll hit that ceiling very, very quickly, but we're not going to expand anything until, you know, we figure out what we're doing as a county. So we're just establishing a wait list at this time. They're hopeful that they'll be able to have a graduation in September. And so we'll let people enter the court as people graduate off that caseload. The drug court graduation is coming up on May 7th. If you haven't gotten your invites yet, you should soon. And as long as I'm plugging things for the drug courts, or for our specialty courts, the spring fundraiser that many of you have attended in the past is coming up again on May 15th. If you haven't gotten the flyer for that, you should soon. And that is hosted by a 501c3. These are mostly retired people in the community who see the value in the problem-solving courts. And so they do a lot of supplying the participants with things that we can't use tax dollar funds for. So, you know, things like buying them new shoes and winter coats and all the things they need to operate in their lives to relieve some of that stress so that they can really focus on their sobriety. And with that, I have nothing further.
Okay, any questions for Ms. Ost? Okay, we will move on to Circuit Clerk.
Good morning, everyone. My report is on file if anybody has any questions about it. I do like to say that we are down 2 clerks still in our court and office team. And citation report, I just wanted to give you a little idea of what, like you were saying, Ms. Johnson, about the 150 citations in one traffic, one day, correct, thank you. I didn't want to say stop because that would be like a lot. We input about 160 to 260 citations a day. So that is spread out through clerks that are in the court and office team that are in the office, they're not in court, or if they are in court and things are slow, they have opportunity to input. So that's just gives you a little idea of what goes on in addition to the counters and all the phone calls. Our expungement clinic, we just put it out this week, and I think it is totally full. It was in the Aurora library flyer, and it was filled really fast. So that just shows the need to have more expungement clinics throughout the county, which is a challenge for us because we do use exempt employees, and this is like volunteering to spend a whole Saturday working on this. And then I do have some good news. Our vault that I talked about a little bit about previously and our need to have a larger vault. We know there is one, but it is currently being used for office space. But we do have space in our office, in our records area, since we have a lot of items that now are on microfilm, that we have been having contractors come over and the building management staff come over and talk to us about possibly changing one of our rooms there into a vault, which is good news. They think they can just use a door from the other vault. And so that would save the county thousands of dollars. So I imagine it would probably cost over 50,000 to get a new vault. They're very, very, very expensive. So that's what we're looking at right now. Anybody have any questions?
Okay, any questions for our circuit clerk? Hearing and seeing none, we will move on. Any old business the committee would like to discuss? Any new business?
Madam Chair.
Mr. Grape?
Thank you. Just a couple of things, kind of for everybody, but Scott, I wanted to thank you for the 4 keys. So whether it's 3 keys or 4 keys or 5 keys or 88 keys, just appreciate that highlight, because as money gets tighter and tighter and tighter, we're going to have to understand from you all, that's everybody, not just Scott, of course, all departments, but what we can do to help you do the important jobs you're all doing. This is a wonderful statement of value. And toward that end, if we get those, then this committee can be, as another board member sitting in this room right now suggested, that committee meetings become a discussion of how we can help, not going through agendas, which are important, and voting, but the real work is here in the committee so that we can make recommendations and whatever else we need. So if you can help us guys with that, and that's generic, of course, it will be helpful to us, and then we can help the other committees get through this in a positive way, because you're doing amazing work and we really appreciate it. So help us help you. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or any new business anybody from the committee wants to discuss? Okay, may I have a motion or consent to place reports on file?
Deputy requests unanimous consent.
Any opposition? Okay, reports are placed on file. We have no need for executive session. May I have a motion and a second to adjourn?
Linda moves
Mr.
adjournment.
Linder moves.
Williams seconds.
Mr. Williams second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.